Hey everybody, my name is Jennifer. This is Metatron speaking, and I'm going to be talking about Andromeda today. We, Susan and I, my business partner at Orange Light Energy, we just created the Andromedan activation. So this is actually where this came from. Um, by the way, I'm sick again. I feel like I'm gonna be just sick for the next like 6 months while my children are in school. So my voice is probably gonna sound different. You might hear me like clearing my throat. I'm gonna try not to. Um, but just is what it is. So just warning you guys. Um, so Andromeda. So part of the Andromedan activation that we created. So it's lining you up with energies from Andromeda as a whole, which is actually a galaxy. This is not a planet, this is a galaxy. The entire galaxy is in 7D. It's the first galaxy that was created. Gana is one of the planets on this within this galaxy. Um, so it lines you up with the energies of the galaxy, but it's also lining you up specifically with one, possibly more, but at least one um, spirit guide who's coming from the Andromedan Galaxy to interact with you, um, to guide you, to help you, to go through life with you. So, because that's part of the activation, as I was doing the activation myself, because Susan channels it and I'll read through it and then I'll end up recording it and doing a grid with it and all of that stuff. But as I read it the first time, it activates me. So when I was reading it, I had guides step forward. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I saw and what happened for me. Um, so I received two guides during the activation. The first guide was a male. He had, it actually took me a second to recognize what was happening because I was talking to Michael, and then this other guide appeared, and he had blonde, curly hair about to his shoulders, maybe a little past his shoulders. He was wearing white clothing. It was loose, and he had a sword. And so I was like, "Who are you?" um, and once I felt his energy, I actually had an emotional reaction. I actually cried because on a soul level, I recognized him, even though visually I did not recognize him. I recognized his energy, and it made me cry. Um, he asks me to call him Leo. The second guide was an Asian male. He had his skin was dark. He had brown skin and like black hair. His hair was also like curly or wavy and long, and he wore it down. And I can tell he spent a lot of time in the sun because parts of his hair would reflect like blonde or red, and that's just from his hair lightening from being out in the sun so much. So the first guide, the blonde guide, is an incarnation of Michael. And so that's why I had that emotional reaction. This second guide is a incarnation of Raphael. And when I saw him, I had a different experience. When I saw this guide, it was like it was like, where have you been? It's like I knew you existed. I knew you looked like this. I've been looking for you. Finally, you're in front of me. And so I had a really emotional reaction with him. Um, this guide, his name is Anlion, Anlion, Anlion. And he has like, this is the only way I could describe it. I'm like, he has like sensei energy. He has like little Jesus energy in him, a little bit, little teacher energy, little, very calm, very loving, very approachable, very joyful. So let's talk about Andromeda. So in the Andromedan Galaxy, I, I mean, all of us know very little about the Andromedan Galaxy, right? Because it's just now starting to come into everyone's consciousness. And a small part of my objective for the first book that we're working on is going to be to start mapping out some of Andromeda. So the way they're mapping it out for me is by constellation, which kind of makes sense. So they're showing me one particular constellation. They're calling, I actually do not know what it looks like. There, I see a bunch of dots, but I don't see like the drawing of what it's supposed to look like. And they're calling it Alana, and they're saying that the constellation of Alana in Andromeda is equivalent to Alana is equivalent to the goddess um, Artemis from Greek mythology, or the goddess Diana from Roman mythology. I hate calling it mythology because that's not even what it is, but so it's this equivalent energy that they have in Andromeda, and they call her Alana. And so she has her own constellation. It's made up of 7 planets. Gana, the blueprinter planet, the original planet to incarnate on, is one of these 7. They gave me the name of the other planets. They are, and I'm not going to spell them for you, I'll just say them for you at this point. They are Selah, Embagni, Anon, Lior, Isray, and Evnor. So Leo, my first guy, the blonde guy, is from Anon, and Leon, this sensei Asian guy that I super know well, he's from Lior. And so I'm asking, like, okay, can I channel one of you guys? And they're saying, yes, and Leon from Lior, go ahead and channel him. So I'm like, all right, I know nothing about this planet. So I'm like, okay, let's do this. So Leon is wearing like this brown outfit. It looks just like the things that monks wear here on Earth. It's like to the floor. Um, it's like a wrapped outfit with the long sleeves. It's loose. Um, so let's see. His hair is down, and it's really cool. This planet is like breezy everywhere you go, so his hair is always like blown around in the breeze. So the first thing I see is we're on this mountain, and we're not at the top of the mountain. We're like on the side of the mountain, and it's breezy on this mountain. And if I look behind me in the distance, I can see like bits of the ocean, basically. So there's an ocean on this planet. There are huts on this mountain. I can see this one hut that's built right onto the side of the mountain. So people live here. His tribe is on this mountain. The weather is perfect. It doesn't get too cold or too hot. We head to the top of the mountain, and at the top of the mountain, it's this huge flat space that's like green, but very, very flat. And this is where most of the village huts are. There are horses on this planet. I have a white one that I'm using, and he has a brown one. And so we go up this mountain, there's this flat area, and then kind of on the back side of the mountain, we take these horses down this really narrow, scary, we probably shouldn't do this, we're going to fall off the mountain and die kind of road. And so we're going down this narrow road on these horses, and we get down to the destination. We reach a cave that is like in the side of the mountain. So it's like going inside the mountain to go in this cave. It's huge on the inside. It looks like a limestone cave, but it's not made of limestone. I don't know what the matrix or the base of it was, but there were black quartz and clear quartz growing in this cave, and they were massive. They were large, some of them were larger than me. And that's just one point, and they're growing in clusters all over inside this mountain. There are pools of water on the inside that were like, I don't know what was in that water. The pools were glowing like a green, like a bioluminescence green kind of color. It looked like magical as heck, and you wanted to just like touch everything. But there was a lot of energy in the cave. And I say to myself, that mountain must be sacred and magical to be holding crystals like this inside of it. The crystals are the size of me and bigger. The water here is sacred. So we come to this space not to like take the crystals and like splash in the water, but we come to this place to just like experience the energy. So we went in there and it was just to absorb the energy, and we were just quiet and I could hear like water dripping in the background. And so and Leon says, "The lands are full of crystals, caves, and underground water. The ground is balanced here, full of minerals. All of these things keep the planet in the seventh dimension." So he did all that, gave me that little bit of conversation, and then suddenly we're out of the cave. We're back on the top of the mountain. We're in the sunshine. And again, now we're back in the wind. So his hair is like blowing around in the breeze in the sunshine. And he says, "We take on bodies to feel things like this wind on our face, or to feel the touch of another person, to feel the sun on our skin. In this dimension, the seventh dimension, our bodies are vehicles of pleasure and experience. They are not permanent. If we are not using them, we can detach from them and pick up another body later. The bodies have benefits that cannot be felt fully elsewhere. It is possible to eat, drink, hug, and make love in the spiritual world, but the experience is much more muted than what is felt in a body. The body intensifies the tastes and smells and sensory information. Bodies do not break down and die in this dimension. We have the technology to keep them running indefinitely. These bodies only age while they are inhabited. If you want a younger body, you can change it out for a newer one. We do not have a deep attachment to the physical world, but we have a deep respect and appreciation for it. We enjoy being very conscious about each physical experience. We derive joy from each of those moments. This way of thinking is possible on your world now, too. We like using our hands to make things. We like walking and running and climbing to feel our body moving. We like experimenting with what we can make and with what we can do. Our focus is on adventure and discovery and trial and error. No one fears failure. No one can relate to that concept here. How can experiencing the physical world be a failure? It cannot. It is always a benefit to the soul. Souls do not start out in 6D or 7D. 5D is an ideal starting point because that environment is not too emotionally difficult, but there is still room to experience difficulties and challenges that can lead to growth. 7D is where souls go when they need to rest and reset, when they need to remember that incarnation is about fun and pleasure and exploring, and that it is not intended to be a battle for survival. The Andromedan Galaxy has every imaginable paradise. And like Earth, there is great diversity even within a single planet. Each group or city develops in the way they see best. So one town will be very rural and simple. Another will be modern with more obvious technologies. Neither is right or wrong. It allows for diverse experiences, even within a single lifetime, if it is desired. There is a natural desire in the seventh dimension to group together with others, to work together and create together and play together and to share. Joy is multiplied with others in this dimension. So he takes me into a different vision because I asked him to show me more of Lior, and he ends up showing me some things that I'm gonna put in the book. And so I'm gonna skip ahead and tell you more about what he has here. So he shows me we're in this different place now. We're in like a city kind of setup, um, and we're sitting down on the floor on a mat outside. We're at like a restaurant. So there's a mat. There's like this really small low table in between us, and we're sitting cross-legged and we're drinking like a cup of tea. Like we both have tea and we're talking. It's an outdoor restaurant, and of course there is a breeze. And so I can see that I'm talking to him, and then I can see that somebody comes and brings us food, and it looks exactly like egg rolls, and with like three different color sauces that come with these egg rolls. And I know that I've been here before. I know I've been with him before. So I just ask him like, which one's my favorite? And he's just like, try them. And so I try them all, and they all taste very different, and they're all amazing. Um, all equally good, all very different from each other. So side note, in my current lifetime as Jennifer, I love egg rolls. I'm like obsessed with them, and I'm obsessed with sauces. So he knows this, and so he is giving me the experience that he knows I will remember and enjoy. Um, so after they bring these egg rolls, they bring us like these. It's like a green leaf that's like wrapped around something. It's like a package that's wrapped in a green leaf, and it's hot. And they set this down, and when we open it, it's like rice and like pieces of vegetables on the inside. Um, and it's basically like the equivalent of fried rice on Earth. And I have, let me see, I have chopsticks, which I'll ask him about those later, but I see chopsticks, so I pick them up, and I pick up this like vegetable, and it's like yellow, but it's like really freaky looking. It's like it's almost looks like a uh octopus or a starfish, or um but it's firm, but it's got all these like little appendages everywhere. And so I hold it up and I'm like, what is this? Um, and he's like chewing food, and he tells me it's like a bell pepper. So I'm like, okay. So I eat it, and it's not as firm as a bell pepper. It's got a little different texture, but it tastes pretty similar. The rice is harder than rice on Earth. It's more fibrous than I'm used to, but otherwise just like fried rice. So afterwards, he like passes me these like thin, what look like thin twigs. They're like brown sticks that he's handing me. And I'm like, what do I do with them? And he said, you chew them, peel back the brown skin, it's dessert. And so I did it, and they're just very mildly sweet. Very, very mildly sweet. Um, but I liked them a lot. It was kind of something about the texture, something about that item. I can tell that I was probably obsessed with it when last time I was there. So I told him I probably eat way too many of these when I incarnate here, and he laughs, and that's just him validating that. Yep, that's exactly what happens. Um, and I told him you purposely gave me all my favorite foods from here, like for this experience, and he was like smiling, like validating it. And then I was just looking around, and I was like, how do we pay for this? Like, how does this work? And this older woman um, comes out from the restaurant, and she's like excited to see both of us, like maybe more so him. And she has some wrinkles, and she's got like black and gray hair, and she's got it twisted up in the back. And she knows us. Um, and I figure out that it's his mother. And so he tells me I will work for her another day to make up for it. And so I realized that what he has showed me is not like a current moment walkthrough of this planet. He's showing me parts of a past life, but he's we're putting my current consciousness into a past experience. Um, so then I just start asking him questions. I'm like, "Hey, are chopsticks like native to Lior?" And he says, "No. Many things that are many things that you have seen here were gifts from other planets that were carefully replanted, or there were skills that they taught to us. For example," by the way, I had a drink at lunch. I didn't tell you guys. It was like this coconut drink. It was amazing. He says, "For example, your drink at lunch came from coconuts native to Polaris. Polaris gifted us coconuts many years ago, and we now have many trees in this region that bear the fruit." And so I asked him, "Well, what did Lior give Polaris in exchange for the coconuts?" And he's got this necklace on. It's like twine that's wrapped around one one little crystal point, one little quartz, clear quartz crystal point that I know he got from one of those caves. Um, and so he holds up the crystal. And so I asked him, was Polaris able to grow their own crystals back at home from what you gave them? And he says, no, the conditions there are not quite right. But both planets were very pleased with the exchange. And I was like kind of joking with him, and I was telling him, "Oh, it's like because I love I love coconuts too." So I was like, "It's really hard to put a price on coconut, right?" And he said, "It's hard to put a price on anything, but we both had something special that couldn't be found somewhere else. So energetically, they were an equivalent gift." And so that actually just made me think of the times that I'm exchanging goods and services with other people. It made me think of that because sometimes in my mind I feel like, oh, well, you know, if the dollar amount isn't exactly the same between what's being exchanged, I feel like it's not fair or it's not right. But I like what he said because he's saying, no, it breaks down to what it is energetically. It doesn't break down to what dollar amount you throw on it in this world, um, if that makes any sense. So maybe that'll help somebody out there in the world because I hope as time moves forward for Earth, I hope we start tapping back into like a bartering system where we're getting more away from money and we're getting more into exchange of goods, exchange of services, where we're more connected to both what we're getting and who we're getting it from, if that makes sense. So that's everything that I wanted to share with you. I had a bunch more stuff from there, but I'm gonna just shove it into a book. Um, so again, we have the new Andromedan activation. So whether you're a blueprinter or whether you are from Andromeda or whether you don't know where you're from, but you just kind of get excited thinking about this 7D galaxy that's just all these different paradises essentially. Um, if you feel like you're connected to Andromeda, you are. Don't wait for me to validate it. Don't wait for someone else to validate it. If you feel drawn to somewhere or something, you have a history with it. You've had good lifetimes with it, or possibly traumatic lifetimes too. But if you're pulled to it again, it's probably a good lifetime. So, anyways, so we have the Andromedan activation. I also have probably a couple other videos that Metatron wants me to get out. So this week will be a video week. There's going to be more videos. Um, yeah, I think that's everything for now. So thank you guys for listening, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.